Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you kindly for stopping by. Let me just remind you that the Saturdays Mind Speak at the Intercontinental. We serve breakfast from 9:30. We start at around 10. I'm looking forward to hosting Sumair Hassan-Athmani, who's the CEO of the National Oil Corporation of Kenya. Two links. One is the sessions this year we've had, great guests, great conversations, and a little clip about what Mindspeak is. Macro thoughts: dollar Canada below 130, so relatively muted reaction in the FX markets to Trudeau's victory, which was quite decisive. I'll get to that in a moment. Home thoughts: I saw this photograph tweeted of Hunter S. Thompson, and when we were up in Borana, one of the fellows up there who looks after the facility at the ranch was called Hunter, and that took me to two quotes. The edge: there is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. And life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." I took this photograph. Hannah spotted the rainbow when we were driving around Borana, and there were in fact two at one point in the sky. And Lewa and Borana are well known for rhino, and let me put up two photographs. One is of two rhinos, two black rhinos. That was in Lewa on our way up as we drove to Borana. And on the way back, as we drove back to the airport, we found a mum and her baby rhino out for a stroll. We'll put that up as well. And let me put up a photograph of Hannah entering the pool rather gingerly at Borana. And we were just under 2,000 meters above sea level, and that's why it was quite cold when you got in. I got in once and got out pretty quickly. Political reflections: the party went on to capture 184 of the 338 seats in the House of Commons. This was an unexpected rout which occurred 47 years after Mr. Trudeau's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, first swept to power. Trudeau told supporters in Montreal, "Sunny ways, my friends, sunny ways. This is what positive politics can do." My conclusions were it was a very subtle Sun Tzu campaign, where Prime Minister Trudeau turned Harper on his head. Let me put up a photograph of Pierre Trudeau and his son Justin arriving at Rideau Hall for a lawn party many years ago. And just to alert you to this from Bloomberg, the proportion of Canadians who think it's time for a change in government rose to 71% on the final weekend of the campaign from 67%. Put up a photograph of Trudeau kicking off the last day of the campaign. Agence France-Presse then reported that Canada is withdrawing its fighter jets from Iraq and Syria, Trudeau told President Obama. So he's moved very quickly in that regard. Next big headline news was President Xi Jinping's visit to the United Kingdom. And I concluded by saying the UK rolled out the reddest of red carpets. China Xinhua News: royal welcome for Xi Jinping highlights China-UK partnership. And there was some very, if you just studied it for the linguistics, there was very powerful affirmation of this particular love affair. In the West, they talk about moderate opposition, but so far we haven't seen any in Syria. This is General Katapolov, commander of the Russian operation in Syria. Any person who takes up arms and fights the legal authorities, how moderate can he be? put up a file photo showing Russian MiG-29 jet fighters from Bloomberg. US pilots have been told not to react to aggressive Russian jets in Syria. US and Russian defense chiefs held a series of discussions, the first in months, and agreed to explore ways to avoid accidental interactions, also known as deconfliction in military parlance. The Pentagon's Secretary of Defense Ash Carter had a constructive conversation with his Russian counterpart Sergei Shoigu. President Abbas, according to Richard Grenell on Twitter, said, "We welcome every drop of blood spilled in Jerusalem. This is pure blood, clean blood, blood on its way to Allah." Put up a photograph of Jerusalem. Global research is saying the recent upsurge in violence has been variously described as the children's, lone wolf, Jerusalem, and smartphone intifadas. And I think, when a pressure cooker gets pressed too hard, it just blows. And I suspect that's what's happening here. Currency markets 113.58 is where the 113.48 is where the euro is trading. The euro hit a 10-day trough of 113.06 at the start of the week. Dollar index 94.79. Japanese yen 119.98. Swissy 0.9552. The pound 154.23. The Aussie is at 0.7238, and that's quite a sharp fall since earlier in the morning. India rupee 65.145. South Korean won 11.3380. Rial 390.49. Egyptian pound is above 8. That's quite a dramatic move. South African rand 13.2843. Dollar index, let me put up a 3-month chart. I think it's capped for now, frankly. The Fed's trade-weighted dollar index has retreated 2.3% since climbing to a 12-year high of 121.18 last month. Euro dollar 113.50. Let me put up a 3-month chart. We got to my target of 114.50. Let's keep an eye on it now. Bloomberg has an interesting article, "Currency Rally Sows Seeds of Own Destruction." Policy paradox, talking about how the Australian dollar, the South African rand, have strengthened in the past 3 weeks after the Federal Reserve held off raising interest rates in September, citing global market turmoil. That decision preserved their yield advantage over the US, fueling the currency recoveries from this year's lows. Here's the catch: these gains are starting to contribute to the sort of calm policymakers would like to see before they act. That may rekindle the threat of a Fed liftoff, and such a prospect risks derailing the recovery, whipping up volatility, and starting the cycle afresh. New Zealand dollar before today and yesterday saw the Kiwi transformed into the best performing major currency over the past month, from previously being the rich world loser the first 9 months of the year. Let me put up a 3-month chart of the New Zealand dollar, and you'll see it turned defensive today after a fall in international milk prices at the second auction held this month by Fonterra Cooperative Group. I like the look of this forager's stew at the restaurant Meadowwood in San Francisco. Commodity markets, gold last trading at 11.76. I think the target remains 12.25. Crude oil just below $46. I think it's still tilted to the downside. I know I got a little bit bullish, but that sort of gave way, and I think that was a trading bullish call, and I turned tail on that. Sub-Saharan Africa, target Africa. The US military's expanding footprint in East Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. This is a release from The Intercept. Starts like this: morning dawns at length in Africa. The night has been long and dark. The opening day is a hopeful outlook, and also an aspect of uncertainty. For many years, little colonies, trading posts, and slave marts have fringed its borders, but the vast interior has remained a blank. The US military has, since 9/11, engaged in a largely covert effort to extend its footprint across the continent with a network of small, mostly low-profile camps. Some serve as staging areas for quick reaction forces or bare-boned outposts where special ops teams can advise local proxies. Some can accommodate large cargo planes, others only small surveillance aircraft. All have one mission in common: to eradicate what the military calls the tyranny of distance. These facilities allow US forces to surveil and operate on larger and larger swathes of the continent, and increasingly to strike targets with drones and manned aircraft. According to an internal 2013 Pentagon study obtained by The Intercept on secret drone operations in Somalia and Yemen between January 2011 and summer 2012, a secretive unit known as Task Force 48-4 carried out a shadow war in the region. The task force, with its headquarters at Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, operated from outposts in Nairobi, Kenya, Sanaa. The aircraft it used, manned and remotely piloted, were based out of airfields in Djibouti, Ethiopia and Kenya, as well as ships off the coast of East Africa. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter has acknowledged that Lemonnier serves as a hub with lots of spokes out there on the continent and in the region. Very interesting article. Do take a look. And my conclusions are that US Africa Command is a decisive US lever with which it can tilt the African pitch. Samia Solani tweeted 10 years, quoting President Kikwete, 10 years is long enough for a president to serve his country. And then in the Congo Republic, at least 3 people have been shot dead during anti-government protests in the capital, Brazzaville. Congo, of course, has been warning opposition against disrupting the vote. It ran up to the October 25th referendum to amend the constitution after 4 protesters were wounded and 3 were killed, and basically looking to extend the term. Didas Gasana told KPFA that Burundi is Africa's Syria, a site of struggle between Russia and the US, the 2 poles of the new bipolar world. He was asked, you described Burundi as a proxy war. Could you explain Burundi as a proxy war? What distinguishes Burundi from Syria is that in Syria we have the Russian and the US forces sharing the same airspace. The US, UK, Israel, Belgium are using Rwanda, are using Paul Kagame's Rwanda, while the Russians and Chinese are using Tanzania and South Africa. The Bank of Uganda raised its policy rate by 1 percentage point to 17% yesterday. South African all shares up 6.25% this year, and is the only index of the big cap sub-Saharan African indexes to have posted an increase this year. Dollar rand 13.289, sidelined here, we got very close to that 13 objective. The Egyptian pound, let me put up a 3-month chart at 803.03. This is a fresh 2015 low. The stock market is down 14.2% year to date. Nigerian all shares down 12.5% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 12.03% year to date. The construction of the Bagamoyo port in the Special Economic Zone is aimed at realizing the government's goal of bringing about an industrial revolution in Tanzania. This is President Jakaya Kikwete. And it's now seeming like Tanga and Bagamoyo are taking a lead over Lamu. Let me put up an image of Bagamoyo. And that takes me to the pipeline, the Ugandan pipeline. Uganda's change of mood threatens more than just the Kenya pipeline. It calls into question the entire $20 billion Lapset corridor. And that's from Quartz Africa. Let me put up a photograph of the setting sun in Lamu, and another image of how far the Zambian kwacha has fallen this year. President Kenyatta inspects a guard of honor during the 2015 Mashujaa Day at Nyayo Stadium, Nairobi. That was yesterday. Interestingly, he saw fit to endorse the weekly political prayer rallies for his deputy and asked Jubilee MPs to ignore warnings by ICC judges. Taking a broadside at the court during the 6th Mashujaa Day celebrations, the President said those pushing the cases at The Hague should leave Kenya alone. We know our problems and the troubles we have gone through and know that we as Kenyans have solutions to the issues we face, he said. He said a judge cannot stop Kenyans from praying. As Kenyans, we should continue praying. No judge has the power to order us to stop praying. We believe in God and we have the freedom of worship, so we'll continue praying because we know the value of prayer. 6 days ago, Judge Chile Eboe Osuji, who was presiding over the Ruto case at the ICC, had warned MPs against commenting on the ongoing trial during their prayer rallies. He said such utterances would not sway the judges. He also warned that political statements would not bully the judges into making a favourable judgment. Interesting article about how banks are feeling the heat as Central Bank of Kenya boss tightens regulations. From a policy standpoint, the new governor is likely to be compliance focused as opposed to Professor Ndungu, who was growth focused, said a CEO of a bank who sought anonymity. Indeed, it's rumoured the current cash crunch is partly as a result of the governor's refusal to allow government to take an overdraft from the Central Bank of Kenya, as it had already breached its limits. I said I'm impressed by the central banker, playing a very difficult hand. The fiscal side is out of time and tune with the new normal, with finesse, but inside the velvet glove there is self-evidently an iron fist. I also said Dr. Njoroge would make that I knew would make a difference when he rejected the trappings of power and insisted on sticking to a simple lifestyle. Central banker caught my attention from the outset. Giving up the trappings of the office, the house in Lusega, and the police escort was a good signal. My article over the weekend was all about the storm clouds gathering in Kenya. Have a look at that if you haven't had a chance. Kenya shilling trading at 102.10. I think it goes below 100 before year end. Nairobi all share is down 15.27% year to date, but has rallied 1.69% since October 15. NSE 20 has rallied 1.60% since October the 15th. Nakumatt has borrowed in order to finance its buyout of Yako supermarkets. Diamond Trust Bank, Standard Chartered, KCB and Bank of Africa were on the lending side. Google is set to invest 4 billion shillings, $40 million, for a 12.5% stake in the Lake Turkana wind power project. Under the agreement to be announced Monday, Google will buy a 12.5% equity stake in the Lake Turkana wind farm when it is complete and operational. The Emakiba platform, which is where investors can buy treasury bills over their mobile phone, I described as a revolutionary idea. It's an excellent example of the innovation quotient in our economy, very grassroots orientated, financially inclusive. It's a perfect example of democratizing the markets. As I said, the market has rallied since October the 15th. Let's see if we can push on today as well. If you need to register on the web, if you need to follow the markets, just register on the website rich.co.ke, get a password. It's free. Go to Rich Live and track the markets and trading hours. And then don't forget Saturday at the Intercontinental for Mindspeak. Once again, thank you.